a comparative analysis of Fallout video game series romance options. Welcome to Love in a Post-Apocalyptic World, the podcast where we dive into the fascinating world of romance in the Fallout video game series. I'm your host, Sarah, and I'm joined by my co-host, John. Today, we'll be embarking on a comparative analysis of the romance options found in the Fallout series. From the charming companions of Fallout 3 to the complex characters of Fallout 4, we'll be exploring the intricacies of love, relationships, and survival in a world gone to bits. With a series that spans over 2 decades, it's no surprise that the Fallout franchise has evolved significantly, and so have its romance options. In this episode, we'll be discussing the various ways in which the development team has approached romance, from the more lighthearted and playful options in Fallout 3's gallows humor faction to the deeper, more meaningful relationships in Fallout 4's Commonwealth. Let's start with the very beginning of the series, Fallout 3, and the romantic companions available to the player. For example, the Brotherhood of Steel's Colonel Augustus Autumn, who offers a charming and dry sense of humor, or the dedicated romance options like J.E. Sawyer's. In contrast, Fallout 4's romance options, such as Preston Garvey or Codsworth, are more subdued and subtle, reflecting the overall darker tone of the game. We'll be examining the reasons behind these differing approaches to romance and what they reveal about the player's experience in each game. What are your favorite Fallout romance options? In the Fallout series, romance options have evolved from the initial games to a more developed and diverse aspect of the narrative. Fallout 3, released in 2008, introduced companions with whom the player could form romantic relationships, marking a significant departure from the series' more austere roots. However, these relationships were relatively basic and lacking in depth, with romantic interactions often feeling like a tacked-on feature rather than a genuinely integrated aspect of the gameplay. For example, when it came to courting the super mutant companion, Fox, the player was presented with a single awkward conversation option that felt more like a requirement than a genuine attempt at romance. Similarly, pursuing a relationship with the robot companion, Pal, boiled down to a series of mechanical interactions that failed to capture the complexity and nuance of human-like romance. The crudeness of Fallout 3's romance options is perhaps best illustrated by the characters themselves. While you could develop romantic relationships with companions like Fox and Pal, the emotional stakes were always remarkably low. There was no sense of vulnerability or danger to be found, no risk of heartbreak or rejection. Instead, romance felt like a collection of shallow interactions that served only to advance the plot or provide a brief respite from the main quest. This was a far cry from the sort of emotionally resonant relationships that we've come to expect from more mature games, and it's clear that the developers were still experimenting with the ideas of romance and companionship in the Fallout universe.